into form, divinity, source, coming into experience. This morning, connection to source, prayerful moments, grounding physically from the chaos of activity, suspending the urgency of requirement, easing into restfulness, surrendering attempts to do, simply allowing being. Float along with the waves of your breathing. Perhaps you will feel warmth, a tender expansion of healing energy moving through and emanating from your heart. Accept this nurturing. Know your body is being rejuvenated by the miracle of creation, one cell at a time. The gift of life unfolding from source. Patience. Relaxation. Stillness. Silence. Awakening. Awareness. Adjustment. Decision. How to engage with the moment. How will I connect? How will I share the blessing of my time? How will I honor the wonder of my life? appreciation for the sacredness of this time, gratitude for the emerging moment. Amen. Welcome. Welcome to this moment. I embrace change as a natural part of my spiritual evolution. I trust in divine order and step forward with faith. I'm going to start by busting a myth. The myth I have heard so many times, especially as a leader. I don't like change. Really? That's not usually true. Most people want better. Better means different. Different means change. And at the same time, I hear another B word, boring. I'm bored. Nothing's ever changing. So I'm going to suggest that we do enjoy change. In fact, first of all, we recognize that it's just constant. It is the nature of the expanding universe. And we generally want it until we realize we didn't want that part of it. So what we really probably mean when we say we don't like change is that we are a little uncomfortable with uncertainty. What if we knew? What if we knew what the change would bring? How many times have you said, why did I wait so long to do that? If I only had known, I would have gotten that easy pass sooner. The thing about knowing is a lot of times we don't know that that isn't the change we wanted until after it happens. So uncertainty is an issue. But when it comes to life and spiritual life, what if we knew? So today, there's 3 parts to this talk. There's really 4, but the last one's a secret. Not anymore. What if you knew? There's actually 4. Part 1 is, what if you knew? Part 2 is, you kind of do. No. And part 3 is, do you even really need to? No. But I like to end with the, what if you knew, you kind of do you really even need to? Because it rhymes. What if you knew? So I got cooking on this when I became aware of a guy by the name of Peter Managor. And let's see, he's about my age, actually. But in 1980, when he was in college, he was in Montana going to school, and he took a spring break trip. He's a bit of an adventurer. He was a trained ski, more than a ski guide instructor, he was like a ski paramedic, and so he did that for a part-time job. And he saw a posting for spring break. Guy says, hey, I'm going up to Manitoba, or Alberta, I guess, just north of the border there, to this famous ice wall, going to do some ice climbing. He said, never did ice climbing. I thought it'd be cool. Really cool. Very cold, in fact. And the guy that was going with him was a certified ice climber, however you get that certificate. Anyway, they did this. They were fairly well prepared, not prepared enough. They got to the top too late in the day. It was dark. They had to descend. They were cold. Hypothermia set in. They started making mistakes. Things continued to get more dire. Eventually, Peter succumbed to the conditions and died. And during that time of death, he had an experience. And he returned from death. And he's alive today. He's a minister of all things. Chose to go to divinity school after that. So he falls into the category of people that have NDEs, near-death experiences. I am quite certain that there's a lot of energy and people in this room that have explored various aspects of near-death experiences. And I think each and every one of us wonders what our near-death experience will be as we get nearer to death. But one thing that Peter said when I first heard him telling his story was how since that time he doesn't have belief or faith anymore. I thought, really? And he said, because I know. I absolutely know. So I've been there, and I've come back. I don't have to believe anything. I know. So what if you knew? Got me thinking about that. And in unity, I don't think this is a dramatic talk to share. Because in unity, we don't really focus on the fear of death because we might go to hell. We better get our act together or suffer. We have a different idea of God than a traditional Christian might. But you might be interested in what Peter's experience was like. It was wonderful. For the most part, he did experience pain. All the pain that he'd ever been a part of creating. And I'm not quite sure where that all fit because he really just said, I don't even know how to explain it. That makes sense to me, by the way. He said it was as wide as possible and as narrow as could be all at the same time. And God was speaking to me, but there was no voice. And all sorts of descriptors that just would lead you to believe that just like God, it's beyond our ability to understand or describe. So we come up with stories. You find a lot of those in the Bible. They're not wrong. They're just our best attempts to try to talk about something that we don't understand. But what if we knew? You kind of do. You kind of do know. But I think as far as the bookends of life, we can just sort of accept that we know that, or just accept that we're going to choose to know that something will happen or nothing will happen. And if nothing happens, so what? You won't know. So let's just go with the something is going to happen. And that something is going to be wonderful. And we can know that without knowing exactly what it would be like. So we don't have to focus on that. What if you know? I think, what if you knew the answer to the most important questions that you have? I mean, I have my most important questions. I'm going to share them in a minute, but you might have different most important questions. What if you knew the answer? If you knew the answer, what would you do different in your life because you knew it? How would you live differently? And I'm defining living being the movement of doing coupled with the awareness of doing it and feeling the consequences of having done it all at the same time. I'm calling that living. Because I think we're always carrying all that with us as we make the next decision for the next movement What would you do different? To me, the three most important questions are, where we come from, where are we going, and what are we doing? So I think in terms of what I call the bookends of life, like, where are we going? Well, when this life finishes, whatever that is, I think we all know, despite some very powerful dissonance at different times that I've experienced, we all know this is going to end. We know that. It can wait. Patience. Now we have some patience. And something will happen. So in the meantime, the question that really matters is, what are we doing? And I think where we came from is helpful for that. So, I mean, if we go all the way past, pick your moment, conception, birth, there was a certain initiation of Bruce. And then before that, I got to think something. Something. Because if I think there's something after, then I got to think there's something before. But let's not get too confused about that on the divine level, other than that. And I know folks in this room that could really share a lot of thoughts about that. Spent a lot of time thinking, praying, listening. But if we just look at the physical aspect, I am the product of my ancestors. All the way back to the single-celled ones, which I see at Thanksgiving sometimes, I swear. Oh, my family, they don't deserve what I give them. Really, they don't. They never thank me. No, I'm joking here. I'm joking. They deserve everything. Maybe that's one thing I don't know. I think in general, in terms of what we're doing, so I'm going to just sort of blend where we came from and what we're doing for the rest of this for a bit. You got to think that there's some impact on what we're doing here for where we're going. I don't believe in hell. Personally, I at least not the caricatures of it that have been described to me in various Sunday schools and podcasts and other venues of media. But I do believe in consciousness. And I do believe that our journey here is about the constant change, unfolding of consciousness. God is principle. We say this in unity. God is principle, unchanging, permanent. Yet we are constantly changing. So let's think about the beginning being birth. Do you remember your birth? I don't. Don't remember yours. I don't remember mine. I remember Noah's. Nikki remembers it better than I do. And yet I was, even though I didn't know I was. I became Bruce Edward Price. I didn't pick that name, although some people could say, well, you did. There was this council and you got together and you decided your parents, and maybe that all happened. But just setting all that aside for the moment as a possibility, I was breathing, my heart was beating, and I was beginning to awaken and become aware. Not as Bruce, but as the soul that is in me. The soul that is in you. I wasn't that, you were. And so before you became you, your name and your personality and all these other things that were assigned and that from a pragmatic perspective you accepted, before that you were simply a soul awakening to this reality. And people noticed it immediately. I hear people talking about their children, and they're like, I just don't understand. This one came out like this, and then this one came out like this, and how did they come from the same source? Well, we're not looking back far enough. They're just looking at each other, saying, what did we do? The source, first of all, thousands of generations of DNA blending, which is the process by which the Creator materializes us. So I am part of my father and I am part of my mother, literally, not the great father, but Dean Selby Price. As much as I want to pick on him, I got a lot in common with him, including 23 chromosomes. And my mom. And their parents. And their parents. And their parents. And all of that has been the destiny of, you talk about predestiny, that's the destiny of me has filtered through the life and times of them. That's all a miracle that's kind of fascinating to think about. At least that's what I've been doing this week. But within all of that, there is also the divine ancestry, which I'm choosing to say is my soul. And I am just getting to know that person, thing, whatever, entity. In fact, I think that is what I am doing, is living in this experience, getting to know Bruce, but not Bruce, the thing that was named Bruce. Doing business as Bruce Edward Price, that's all I am. I'm a LLC in this construct of life. So what are we doing? So I say, what if you knew? What if you knew what you were doing? What if you knew what you were supposed to do? What if it was just, I used to have my argument with God when I was young, like, just tell me what I'm supposed to do, because I'm tired of messing it up, getting everybody mad at me. And then they yell at me, and then I cry. And I go walk in the pasture, and I lay down, look at the clouds, and I yell at you. This happened more than once. Somewhere along the line, though, maybe it's when I found unity, but I came to the conclusion that it's up to me to choose what I do. Well, how do I know what to do? Well, I kind of know because there's two levels of kind of knowing. One is you just know what you want, and one of the ways you can measure that is by how you respond to advice. Well, I don't know what to do. Well, you ought to do this. Yes! Finally somebody sees me and gets me. Or, no! So you think you don't know, but you kind of do, is my point. And then the other level of kind of knowing is just what we call gut instinct. You know, I'm going to give you credit for kind of knowing, so you don't have to feel guilty. You kind of know what's right and what's not right, especially for you. You kind of know. Sometimes you try to play a game where you try to convince yourself that you don't know because you kind of think you want to do something that you absolutely know this isn't going to end well. So, what if you knew? So all I can say is in yellow, James, son of Zebedee, wisdom. That's the power. Divine wisdom. It lives in our gut. We know. And if we don't know, what do we know what to do? How often are you on the horns of a dilemma, a big decision in your life, and what do people say? Pray about it. And like that's going to help. It's funny. We spend a lot of time saying the power of prayer, and prayer changes all that, and then we're stuck with something we're struggling with, and someone says pray, and we're like, is that all you got? Is that all you got? Pray about it? Seriously, though, that works. Because when you do like the meditation and you just get still and you just sit with it, you kind of know what's the path for you. And by the way, if it isn't, you will find out very quickly, because one of the best ways to find out if you made a bad decision, as soon as you make it, you know you made a bad decision. Sometimes it takes longer, but a lot of times you get some pretty quick feedback. Oh, that was it. And by the way, you can use this as a way to help you figure out, because if you're not sure what to decide, you can just flip a coin in the air. It doesn't even matter if it hits the ground. Gravity will take care of that, but it doesn't matter. You can just ask yourself, what am I rooting for? Heads, I marry her. Tails, I run away. Heads. You'll know immediately by what you're rooting for. So you have these two tools you can take pragmatically today to figure out what you know. One is, how do I respond to advice? And two is, if I flip the coin, what am I rooting for? What I'm saying is you kind of know. And then the third thing is, do you even need to know? Jesus said, we already did the be still and know I am God part already, so we got the Old Testament covered. Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is within. Okay, did he say that? Did he even live? Was there a Jesus? Was there a guy hanging out in Nazareth that, whatever? Probably not quite the way that the book talks about. Maybe not at all. I choose personally to think that there was somebody that was a person like me who listened, who kind of knew. Didn't know, but kind of knew. Because he listened to the still voice inside. And from that, he got the guidance that he needed. But I say, as far as for me I want to point to him. Where did the poor guy go? There he is. The light is blinding me. All I can see is the light. I don't need, in order for me to know what to do with my life, I don't need to know beyond a shadow of a doubt whether Jesus lived or died or did any of those things. I don't need him as a savior. I don't need him as a surrogate sacrifice. But I do appreciate him as a way shower, because I listen to those words, and when I check with my gut, those words resonate as truth. So people say, well, Jesus, this, I don't even need to be distracted by knowing or not knowing that. I know that the energy of my source that resonates through me resonates with the words and the guidance of him as a way shower, as it's been provided to me through a book. The book, I'm skeptical of some of it, but I trust me to know. And that's how I know what to do with the time and the gift of my life. And I think you do too. So please, don't worry about change. Just be the change. Flow with the river. And know that you know kind of what to do.